Coming up on the 49ers Report, Richard Sherman has signed a one-year, $2.25 million deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So because of that, we're going to take a look at the top cornerback free agency and trade targets who San Francisco could go after. And lastly, should the 49ers trade for Saquon Barkley? Some rumors swirling out there in the universe. But first, let me ask you this. Do you want the Niners and John Lynch to make a move to improve this defense? I think this roster as a whole is bordering on a top 10 roster in the National Football League, but there are glaring holes on the defensive side of the football. So if you want them to make a move, smash that thumbs up icon and like the video. Welcome into the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Sr. What a world we live in when nowadays athletes and players, they break their own news on social media as to where they're going next. That's what Richard Sherman did this morning on Wednesday as he announced on his podcast with Pro Football Focus he is going to be signing a one-year deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers worth more than the league vet minimum. A pretty good deal for him this late in the process. Ian Rapoport adding on top of that saying this, new Bucs cornerback Richard Sherman did have talks with the San Francisco 49ers as well as the Seattle Seahawks, but chose the Bucs thanks to a recruiting pitch from Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay staff. The top free agent available, Sherman signs with the defending Super Bowl champions. As for why Sherman is going to Tampa Bay, he said on his podcast this, I went with the best offer I had, the best opportunity to go out there and put some great tape on, to lead another group. I feel comfortable and confident in my abilities to go out there and execute and help that team win. Now, this is going to be a great matchup on Sunday for Tampa Bay as Tom Brady matches back up against Bill Belichick, going back to Foxborough. Richard Sherman is not going to be on the field for the league's worst pass defense, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's why they're bringing in Richard Sherman, because they do have a lot of injuries occurring in that secondary, like the Niners, and that's why Richard Sherman has been linked to San Francisco. But Sherman is not going to play on Sunday. He said on that pod he's going to need about a week or two to be ready for game action. Now, last year in 2020, Sherman with the Niners, his season was cut short because of injury, but back in 2019, he made it to a Pro Bowl, and you're looking at a player who has so much pedigree, so much experience. He is smart. He is savvy. He is a future Hall of Famer. He'll be docking that gold jacket at some point in the near future when it's all said and done. And he is an all-pro player. Now, is he still an all-pro caliber player? Probably not at 33 years old, but he's only a couple years removed from a 2019 season in which he was very good on the outside for Robert Saleh's defense en route to that Super Bowl loss to KC. 61 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 11 pass breakups, and 3 interceptions back in 2019. If the Bucs are getting some semblance of that Richard Sherman, they'll be in pretty good shape because they're only paying him a little north of $2 million. And because Sherman is affordable, that's why I was in favor of him coming back to Santa Clara to suit up in the scarlet, red, and gold. So with that, I transition to this. Are you angry the 49ers didn't sign Richard Sherman? How are you feeling about this move as he goes to another team in Tampa Bay that the Niners may be competing with deep into the playoffs? Type M for mad, type F for nah, I'm fine. Get those votes in the comment section down below. As for which cornerbacks are available, I put together a list of several players who could be trade targets at the DB spot as well as free agency targets who the Niners could pinpoint to try to bolster up the secondary unit that has been beaten and battered by injury. Let's first look at the top remaining free agent cornerbacks now that Sherman has gone to Tampa Bay. The names, there's some name power here, but here's the deal. They are free agents for a reason because, frankly, they're not very good. Now, a lot of these players do have pedigree. Garyon Conley, DJ Hayden, Prince Amukamara, all former first-round picks. So, too, is Darqueze Dennard, and all of them are at a pretty good age in their respective careers, but I'm not sure these guys are going to be able to play and give you something more than maybe a Drake Kirkpatrick or a Josh Norman. In fact, I think those latter two players are better than any of these 4 players. How about the trade targets, though? These names a little bit more appealing. We talked a couple weeks ago about the Niners' interest in Vikings cornerback Cameron Dantzler. He was inactive earlier on in the season, but here's a former third-round pick out of Mississippi State who was the starting cornerback for Minnesota at the start of last year, made an all-rookie team, but toward the tail end of his rookie year, that's when his play really fell off of a cliff, and he threw out a cryptic tweet on Twitter the other day. I don't think he wants his future to be in Minnesota, so could that pave the way for a trade? Potentially. As for Darius Slay, he's one of the top-paid cornerbacks in the National Football League, and he's still very good. I thought he did play well in that blowout loss against the Dallas Cowboys, matched up against Amari Cooper, but he's one of the higher-paid cornerbacks in the NFL, and the Niners don't have a lot of cap space. Trey Flowers, 26 years old. This is a guy who's shown some ability throughout his career. Here's the deal, though. He has been straight up awful in Seattle. That's point number one. Point number two, will you see a trade between two NFC West rival teams who are going to be going back and forth for a potential divisional crown? I don't think that'll happen. And then Damon Arnett was a first-round pick of the Las Vegas Raiders. He's basically not playing any longer. That goes to show you that Gus Bradley, the defensive coordinator for a very good and improved Raiders defense, doesn't think that Damon Arnett can play a lick. You take chances on guys, though, with some ability, with some potential, with some upside, in hopes that maybe you can extract good talent and good play out of them. Even if the Niners don't make a move for a member in the secondary, you can still survive on one notion if you have a pass rush. And this Niners defensive line, yes, they didn't show up like I thought they were going to show up against Green Bay, an offensive line that had some questions, had some youth, and lacked some talent. Niners defensive line could have been better in that game. But you can survive with the weak back end only if you get pressure on the quarterback. So the pressure is now on this front four, which I think can run 7 to 10 deep to get consistent pressure, not give opposing quarterbacks any time to throw. And if that's the case, and quarterbacks don't have time to scan the field, go through their progressions, and maybe escape when plays break down because that pressure is breathing down their neck, then the back end will be able to do their job to a better degree, even if you are lacking premier talent there without Jason Verrett. I just threw out a few names of some cornerbacks who are out there in free agency, as well as a possible trade target that the Niners could go after. This is your duty now. Get into the comment section, name a cornerback you want the Niners to go after, and drop some names down below. Today's show, it is powered by our sportsbook partner, BetUS. It's the best deal that any sportsbook has to offer. Here's the nitty-gritty details. You go to chatsports.com/49bet, enter the promo code Niners125. You get a 125% deposit bonus. So when you put $100 into your account, you get an additional $125 back. That's $225 to game with. And as we shift our focus to the Niners game against the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday, Seattle coming off back-to-back losses, Niners coming off a heartbreaking loss on Sunday Night Football to the Green Bay Packers, 49ers going in as home favorites with a 3-point line, the over-under right now at 52. If you want to lay down some money on the Niners, maybe even the Sea Chickens, you can do so. Chatsports.com/49bet, enter the promo code Niners125. How about a juicy rumor that we get to and shift to on today's show? Should the 49ers trade for Saquon Barkley? This was thrown out there by Niners Nation. Let's explore it a little bit. So Barkley, he's going into the final year of his rookie contract after being selected number 2 overall in the 2018 draft. Why Dave Gettleman would ever draft an exchangeable and interchangeable position at number 2 with not a lot of value, it blows my mind, but that's why the Giants have been the worst team from a win-loss perspective in the NFL since 2017. And right now, the Giants are facing 0-3 right in the face. They are awful. And because Barkley is going in and in the final year of his contract, I should say, do the Giants as an organization want to exhaust resources on a position where you can find premier talent cheap in free agency or later on in the draft and pay top dollar for a running back? And if they don't want to pay top dollar for a running back, why not get value back for Saquon Barkley right now? That's what Javier Vega of Niners Nation said the other day. He said this: what is the price for Saquon Barkley? This is me being a Penn State homer. That is the dream, right? To have a Saquon Barkley. What is the cost to acquire him? I would love to know what that conversation is like. This is not Madden. I know that, but sometimes guys can be had for less. Daniel Jones, the quarterback, is probably not the guy. If you can get assets and kind of reset all of this stuff, then maybe you do it, right? Dave Gettleman's probably not here at the end of the year in New York. Maybe they ship him off. Maybe they do something like that. It's just a thought. And I think Javier Vega, by putting that out there, has a pretty interesting thought. Is it a smart move for the New York Giants to trade away Saquon Barkley? Now, he's coming off that torn ACL. He basically missed all of last year. His first 2 years were straight up tremendous. And right now, he just doesn't look as though he trusts that knee coming off the ACL. And oftentimes that's the case with guys coming off such a severe injury, and his numbers have suffered because of that. But as he continues to get healthier and healthier and stronger, can Saquon maybe return back to that form that you saw in his first 2 years when he was one of the more dynamic running backs across the entire league? My big question is this: if the Niners do want to explore it, if they want to look into a trade for Saquon, what would it cost? If you can get him for a mid-round first pick, mid-round draft pick, I should say, then why not do it? If the Giants want a first-round pick for a damaged goods running back whose numbers have suffered, then I wouldn't do it. But a middle-round pick, I would certainly think long and hard about it, because Kyle Shanahan's outside zone scheme is always predicated on running the football. Now, you look at what Saquon did in 2018 and 2019 coming out of Penn State. He was just terrific. Rookie year, 261 carries as he burst onto the scene as one of the better playmakers who was just a big play threat. Anytime he touched the ball, he was due for a home run. Compiled more than 1,300 yards on the ground, average yards per carry at 5, 11 touchdowns, and reeled in 91 catches. But his numbers did go down from his rookie year to his second year in terms of carries, yards on the ground, average yards per tote, touchdowns, and receptions. Now, a lot of that is predicated on the Giants being an anemic offensive team and very lame, with guys like Pat Shurmur as the offensive coordinator, now Jason Garrett, who is a total stiff. But that is a peek into what potentially Saquon Barkley could become as he gets healthier coming off that torn ACL. I would do it if the price is right. What would you? Sound off in the comments section and be the GM. Should the Niners go after a running back? Yesterday we talked about Marlon Mack, and should that running back be Saquon Barkley? Type T for trade, type P for pass. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Last weekend we surpassed 41,000 subscribers. If you want the best 49ers coverage out there on the internet that is both informative as well as entertaining, we got you covered. Smash that subscribe button down below or go to youtube.com/49ers TV. And as always, thanks for making the 49ers Report a part of your day.